So new faces joining me on the desk now as we turn over to the second half of the broadcast. Dev and Raven, welcome on to where you get to kind of showcase your more intellectual properties on the old Siege. But we are moving into a game where there are a lot of uncertainties. The roster shuffles, you know, wildcard of old. Are they back? Are they still going to be having the similar problems of 21? Are IG going to be pushing ahead and storming away with 2022? I don't know. Raven, how are you feeling about this one?
Yeah, look, I'm actually feeling really excited about this one because we saw a really strong wild card on Playday 1 as well. So it feels like it's definitely going to be a clash of teams that are feeling like top 4, at least based on Playday 1. I'm super excited about it, but, you know, the super roster of IG felt like it was clicking fairly well against Fury.
Yeah, it certainly felt like it was, you know, kind of trending in that direction. And Dev, I don't know if you remember the conversation that we had with Speakeasy, but things sounded really confident and really comfortable. What are you expecting from the IG roster?
I think that it's still very early to tell. This is the team in APAC South that has made the most roster changes of any team coming into 2022. 3 of their players are changing over and only keeping Hysterics and Speakeasy. So yes, they can be quite confident, but keep in mind, 2 of the rounds that they won were pretty sketchy. One was this 1v4 from Nate, and another one was a 1v3 from Speakeasy. You can't count on winning those every single day.
It was convincing though, wasn't it, Raven? You know, like as I'm not going to do as Enox and just throw Dev under the bus, but although there was a 1v3 and a 1v4, it did feel like Invictus were clicking a little bit better than maybe we have seen them previously.
It did feel like that, and I'd say it was just more classic new roster situation, right? Like they've brought in 3 players, and not a lot of rosters in APAC South, if any others actually, have brought in that many new players. So it was kind of like when they were on, they looked really good. But of course, because they're still kind of finding their feet a little bit as a team, there was just a couple of rounds that were a bit off. So I think as we progress through the stage, we'll likely see whether that is be a continuing trend or whether they'll start to get on top of that inconsistency.
Sorry, I'm just looking at Nate's mullet. Oh my God, if there is any chance we can get back to Nate, that was... absolutely.
It's not even a mullet anymore.
Look at
like,
that, man. That
has gone. That's past the point of being a mullet. That's
oh my
yeah, it's a
God. That is absolutely good. You know who he looks like? There's a cartoon character. It's like a Johnny Bravo lion. I'm trying to think. I will find out and I will post a photo on socials to confirm. That is scary. But another roster that is looking quite scary, quite mainish as well, Dev, is Wildcard. A revitalized roster, a potential new outlook on their competitive, what would you say, campaign. Things have started off in the right way.
Absolutely, and look, 1 year ago, this team was dead last in the league. At the end of Stage 1, they were the weakest team by far. Coming from being one of the best in APAC 3 months prior to that, it was a turbulent time for them last year, probably the most turbulent of their careers. But they started really strong just 2 nights ago with the win over Knights. They've made 2 roster changes since last year, bringing on some new blood. Cairo, who really hasn't been playing at a tier 1 level for very long whatsoever. He played a bit in the Nationals end of last year, but for the most part, he's been a Challenger League level player, so he's been a great addition. And of course, OJ, who's been playing at a national level within Oceania for quite some time. He's helping be part of the backbone of this team, helping out Pat with a lot of the leadership and the support roles. And I guess he's, I don't know, sipping some tea right now or something?
it's a bit of a where's OJ moment, you know? Where's Waldo gone out the window? We're bringing in OJ, and it's only his monitor that's giving him some light. But the light is certainly there for Wildcard, Raven. And I don't know, like, you know, you've obviously been a former coach. How do you think that they're approaching this new season? They had an awful 21, and they've kind of started in the right fashion for 22.
Yeah, definitely did. Look, they had a great game against Knights. Now, Knights had some very obvious struggles, but I think inversely, Wildcard, it's not like they just fell over the line against the struggling Knights. They really excelled. They were punishing mistakes. They were gelling well as a team. They had some really good individual performers. Just looking back through some of the stats from Playday 1, Milo had the equal best entry stat. It wasn't a great entry stat, still +2, but regardless, that's quite up there. Vinny, third best cost from Playday 1 as well at 89%, which is really a strong stat. And that also got him as the 5th highest rated player from Playday 1. So I just think in general there was some really good performances from WILDCARD that give me a lot of faith that it wasn't a fluke and that they could actually put up a really good fight against IG.
I think that's what we're in for. And Dev, there are many questions surrounding this right now. It is really, where are IG going and where are WILDCARD coming from? But I think that this particular match, I was going to say it last time, it was looking like a barn burner, but I would definitely say this one right now has the potential to be burning a lot of barns.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, historically, IG has always gotten the better of WILDCARD. All 3 times that they played each other last year, there were dominant scorelines, a 7-1 in Stage 1, 7-3 in Stage 2, and then a 7-2 in Stage 3. So IG have always had WILDCARD's number. When you change 3 players, I think you forfeit the right to call that record yours still. And so I think that IG are going to have a tougher time against WILDCARD this time. WILDCARD are looking much more organized, but we can never count out the fact that IG are absolute gunners. Like, they've got a lot of the best individual players in the region, and when even probably arguably their least gunner player, Nate, can win a 1v4 in their opening game, then yeah, WILDCARD is not going to find this an easy one. If they give IG an inch, IG will take a mile.
Their least gunner, that is the that is gorgeous. I tell you right now, that is, I'm using that everywhere I go from now on. Let's have a look at the vetoes. Raven, I'll give you first picks here as we bring them up on your screens. We are still yet to see a new map. We have had Theme Park, Border and Skyscraper left in until the last second, and not a single team wants us to go there, but we do head to Bank, which of course we have already seen from WILDCARD, yeah, or IG, sorry, IG.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, we saw it from IG on Thursday. Of course, that was the victory that they got. But look, I think this is a good call from them. A couple of reasons. A, I felt like they could still do improvements on Bank. So while WILDCARD might start to, prep for what IG showed on Playday 1, I think there were some pretty obvious improvements that IG can implement coming into this that could, again, kind of elevate their performance. So I think it's a pretty good call. In terms of WILDCARD, similar to kind of what Dev was saying about when you change, I think even at least 2 players, previous map records, previous records in general start to be a little bit, not discredited, but less likely to be accounted for. Yeah. So I'm not too sure how I feel WILDCARD are going to go on Bank. I would just say that the coordination they presented on Villa gives me a lot of faith that they can perform well on Bank as well. So I think this could be a really close game.
Dev?
Yeah, I think IG have some good results on this map and some not so great results on this map. I think overall I'd say this is a middle to good map for Invictus, but yeah, recent form's great for them that they won over Fury 7-3. For WILDCARD, we have very, very little information, and that goes for IG as well. IG have very little information on WILDCARD because WILDCARD only played this map twice in history since it was reworked and reintroduced into the map pool, and that was 1 win, 1 loss to Chiefs back at the start of Stage 3. So it's been a hot minute since WILDCARD has shown anything on this map. It's going to be less about hard cannoning teams before in terms of preparation for this. It's about just the fundamentals. How good are these teams feeling coming into this? How ready are they for the map themselves? And maybe for WILDCARD, what have they learned about the IG that they've only seen play 1 match so far?
And Raven, that's probably a good point for us to lean into, is the fact that yes, we have seen IG play on Bank, but the fact that it's a completely new roster, I mean, at this point, it is just a completely new roster. Changing out 3 players is absolutely insane. You got to remember, percentage-wise, that's 60% of your team that is completely new to the way that you've already been playing. I'm pretty sure Gig's still at the top, leading, taking the charge on that kind of strategic sense. So they do have an overall vision, but realistically, do we think that their game from Thursday is going to hold any weight on in this match? Do we take anything, if you were WILDCARD, would you take anything away from that?
I mean, yeah, I think I would be not concerned if you're WILDCARD, but I think there is definitely still a lot to take from that. I think most importantly, it'd be things like just the general playstyle and patterns and roles that IG implemented. I think they will definitely innovate and experiment a lot more around their strats maybe than what we saw in previous years or previous iterations of the roster, just because the nature of the players they picked up are very good at kind of going with the flow. Jigsaw is the kind of player that is really good at just going out and making a play that is pretty aside from the strategy at hand. And even some of the other existing players from IG's old roster, Speakeasy and Hysterics, also very much into that play style. So I think that does make it hard for WILDCARD to prepare for. So I think they're going to have to try and take as much as they can in terms of patterns and roles from Playday 1.
And Dev, we've talked about win conditions through and through for both of these rosters. I'm probably going to talk with you about Wildcard here. There's a cheeky little smirk I see on your face. We can't help but get into it. There is always been this permutation with Wildcard that is, if Vinny plays well, Wildcard play well. He played really well on Thursday, popped off, and well, look what happened. They ended up taking down Knight 7-2. However, in the interview, Vinny kind of lent into the fact that the teams are feeling a little bit more comfortable. He doesn't feel that pressure anymore. Do you think that that will play any part here?
I think it's a bit of a chicken-egg situation. You can't really say if Vinny plays well, Wildcard plays well, because I think it's the other way around. If Wildcard is playing the way that they're supposed to, it should be enabling Vinny. He's just one component of the team, right? And that was the problem with Wildcard. They were always less of the sum of their parts. Last year, you were like, oh, these guys are all nuts. These are some of the best players from Oceania, and yet they're struggling so much. They look like chumps when they really should be styling on their opponents. And that's why I think that the sleeper pickup of this roster, the hidden gem rather, is OJ. And the fact that OJ can support Pat as a support player and an in-game leader and put less of that pressure on players like Vinny, Milo, and enable those fraggers and flex players to really flourish at their own role. So I think that overall, if you want to make a comment about Vinny or Milo or any of these fraggers, Cairo for example, you want to look at who's behind them, supporting them. And I think that that's what really Wildcard have achieved with this new roster rejuvenation compared to last year.
Well, I'll tell you what, some of the best in OS are about to fight it out with some of the best in OS and Southeast Asia. It's a bit of a tough one there. But to bring you all of that action is some of the worst that we have to offer. Xenox and Gus.
I really thought for a split second he was going to say some of the best in hosts for broadcasters, but honestly, he would have been lying anyway. Thank you, boys, for breaking it down. I'm very much looking forward to this game. I think both teams coming into this particular stage, guys, so many question marks, so many answers that we want, and I think this particular game between both of them should hopefully give us some of those answers.
Yeah, match of the day, and honestly, it could well be one of the better matches of the entire stage. Super keen to sink our teeth into this one. Two teams at the top of their game at the moment. Let's see who can reign out on top.
Socials going for 58% to IG, 42% to Wildcard. That's probably about right. It's all been spoken about IG's firepower, but I think Wildcard have the firepower as well. We saw that a couple of days ago. Vinny, Molosca, they've got that freedom. Then you add in a player like Cairo. They can definitely fight fire with fire here. But then on the other side for IG, I mean, seriously, Speakeasy, Jigsaw, even Hysterics and Nate. I mean, Mentalist can also frag out. It's such a difficult team to sort of go toe-to-toe with. And I hope for Wildcard's sake, they have that mindset that we might have to play really into the defense here rather than trying to match them toe-for-toe.
Two very bank-centric bans to kick things off. The Habana on a map rather that is so hatch heavy, pretty expected, and the Nook as well. A little bit of a unusual ban, some may say, but particularly with the Tagari pick now in the game, Nook has seen quite a bit of play time. Sneak strats up some of the main staircases all through Garage are quite prevalent, and clearly Wildcard just don't want to deal with that. To round things off, Mirror, particularly on basement, for example, quite potent, so taken care of, and Kaid as well with Habana as well. Banned out, going to make things a little bit more challenging on the hard breach, so Mav, keep an eye on him, probably going to be pretty critical on a lot of these pushes. And Marlo's going to fulfill that role in the first round. IG obviously on the defense, and they'll go to staff room and open area for the first round, an objective that seems to be increasingly favored by teams at the competitive level.
We saw Bank Playday 1 twice, 3-3 first half and 3-3 first half, but in the second half it was the defense that reigned supreme for a map that you know, in 2021 had a lot of favor to the attacking teams, and then there's all of the discussion around the attacker repicks as well. It was the defense from both IG and Direwolves that got their victories against Chiefs and Fury respectively. Do you take anything into account the fact that IG played Bank only just 2 days ago, and okay, maybe Fury's not shaping up to be one of the better rosters here in APAC South, but still they're a little bit more familiar with this map than say this Wildcard roster?
Well, I'm just going to keep running with the storyline I established last Playday, right? It was, yes, it's great for Invictus to get that first win, but it was against a team that didn't look great. And based on the second Playday result, I think it's pretty clear Fury are not a contender for the top 4. So yes, It's awesome. IG, they played well. They played super well. It's on the same map, so that's good as well. But this is probably a matchup where they're going to see a little bit more of a challenge And it's all well and good to do well against poor teams, but most teams are going to beat them. So in the context of the standings, it doesn't mean anything. You need to show resilience and consistency against stronger opponents. So I'm keen to see if Invictus crumble here. Maybe they do. Who knows? If WILDCARD put up a really good fight on this attack, Invictus might wither away. It might wither away a bit of that confidence. So I'm not probably expecting that to be the case, but it is a hypothetical, and IG will be doing their best to prevent that from becoming a realization.
We did see the attacker repick come out. Finker Maverick gone, and IQ Sophia come in for Molosca and Vinciers. We get underway here for Bank, our third game of the day. WILDCARD attacking first. Victus on the defense. Skara looking to see if he can find any information. Not to beat. Vinny on the repel. A lot of presence over towards Terrace, I would imagine, rather than the repel game. That's what we've been seeing a lot more on Bank, especially on sites like CEO Executive, and definitely on open area staff. As Skara now makes his way in, he can start to open things up and get to work on this second floor.
An unusually aggressive Banshee there from Speakeasy and the Malusi, looking to get a bit of an indication as to how quick this top floor roam clear is coming to fruition for WILDCARD, and it seems like it's quite swift. One thing to keep in mind is Valkyrie is available, and Jigsaw, if he's placed those black eye cameras on the top floor, means WILDCARD need to be mindful of any nitro cells from down below. There's 2 in the pocket, but IG will probably want to reserve those for later in the round. And WILDCARD have brought the perfect counter in that IQ. We saw a lot of IQ on Bank in the previous Playday, and I expect that trend to continue.
Well, 1.5 minutes remaining. So far, no real engagement from either team, although Mentalist has just taken a little bit of damage. I think that might have been from the Skeleton Key. Shots go out, and it is Mentalist who gets the opening elimination onto Molosca. The SMG. No response, though, from WILDCARD. That's big for Invictus now with a minute left. Never mind. Vinny will find it through Talers. WILDCARD back into it.
Oh, jeez. Apparently, the stream could hear what we're hearing right now. It is quite distracting. Nonetheless, 45 seconds remaining in this round, and it's a bit of a dead heat at the moment, but OJ can find a kill over towards the B chassis on Kitchen. A quick swing should find that. Spots the shield, actually protecting that player. A little bit obscured by the smoke, but OJ, well aware that there's a player in that spot, tries to find the kill, lands some shots, and Nate's taken down. An aggressive position. Not really paying dividends there for IG. Now WILDCARD with the man advantage, have 20 seconds to convert. It's a blue flank, by the way. Blue flank.
Well, how many times have we seen this on Bank? Blue Stairs flank Mentalist. I think someone is watching it. It is Cairo. It seems as if maybe some lessons have been learned after all, watching for that flank. WILDCARD take the opening round here on Bank. Good start for them.
Nice work there from WILDCARD to kick off this map. They'll be happy with how things played out. Good control up above. They cleared utility with the aid of the IQ. And then good angles in towards particularly Kitchen to have the man advantage. And then, of course, the presence in mind to shut down that rotation. Yep. All around, just really well played by WILDCARD and not much of a response from IG.
How many times have we seen that flank from Blue Stairs collects even 2-3 kills at a time? And Cairo, well, with the smart play to just hold that. Head downstairs, lock a CCTV for the second round. So no repeat. This is one thing that did happen on Playday 1, guys, where teams just were not repeating sites. Where you would lose a particular site, in this instance, open area staff, and then it's like, okay, we're not going to repeat. Kind of, I guess, understand that going down to lock a CCTV. Statistically, one of the better sites for defenders, especially when you play into it with like the Tachanka and Smoke. But that's not going to be the case here for Invictus. They are not going to play through the Tachanka. They have, though, still got the Smoke, and you've got the Echo. So in some ways, you've still got some of that denial that we do tend to see with Locker CCTV, but they're not putting all of their eggs into that denial basket.
Now, one thing that is standing out to me in terms of the attacker selection is OJ on the Ying. So we'll see Candelas in play, and that disruption could prove quite effective, especially for this basement bomb site. You can send in those Candelas and blind players, maybe in as deep as gold if you really play them well. Red, in particular, will blind any players with pre-ripped nitro cells as well. So I really like that pick, and it does feel like Ying has fallen off quite a bit and maybe doesn't get the respect that she deserves in the current meta.
and Curry once again gets in easy, top square into Janitor, can start to try and work on some of that vert game. And I don't think we're going to be seeing Invictus really fight back in terms of trying to deny first floor. I think they're pretty much just going to set up shop down below, and that is the case here. Question will be for Wildcard, their method of entry here. Do they just go for a server take? Do they look to maybe go through Vault, Garage, something a little bit different? Speakeasy. Now, this is interesting because we haven't seen players typically holding top of blue stairs with a shield for a little while now, Guz. And the reason for that is once we see this hatch get opened at bot square, then it really, you kind of get stuck in blue stairs and you can get really pinched and caught, and then it's a really easy kill for the attacking team. So Speakeasy's got to be very careful here.
You say easy, but you also put easy kill and Speakeasy in the same sentence. That's a bit of a fallacy. He is the top player in APAC. So if there's anyone you want holding down one of the more tricky positions, it probably is him. But I do agree with the overall consensus that it's a challenging spot to hold. But as I say that, Pat gets taken down, unaware that he was exposed on that angle.
They do get the trade, though, at the very least. I think they can... I mean, they do lose the thermite, though, right? That's going to be a hard breach off the board. So...
the wall's soft, though, so it's okay.
Wall is soft, fortunately for them. Otherwise, had that been reinforced, then it could have been a little bit tricky for Wildcard. 50 seconds remaining. Candela is still available for OJ. We don't tend to see too much Ying, not in recent times. Will that have an effect here? A positive effect for Wildcard. Vincia trying to find an ankle. Not yet found, and still 2 adrenal surges available. Can use that to not only get his health back up, but same with Molosca. 30 seconds though, and it looks like maybe Vincia going in for the plan, or maybe just trying to bait out the smokes from Mentalist, who still has 2 gas babes available. Never mind, he has none, because Cairo finds the headshot. Hysterics from Gold Vault, able to get at least OJ. But Wildcard still have the numbers here towards the end. Cairo's got 3 in the round. Suddenly, Hysterics in Vault, in a 1 versus 3, might not be able to deny this plan. I don't think he will. Plan is down. It is secure. Now in a 1 versus 3.
Pistol now out, 40 seconds as he vaults forward. It's an act of desperation for Hysterics, who couldn't really find himself in this round, isolated from the rest of the team and unable to help deny the plant. And now he's left all by himself, low on HP, taken down by Nade, and Wildcard will secure 2 rounds straight.
And they're looking good. This is the thing, going up against IG, especially on the attack, you have to wonder how many rounds can you get. This is Bank, though. Attack is sided for the most part, at least according to 2021. While we didn't see that on Playday 1, good signs from Wildcard. And so far, Invictus, I feel like, haven't quite been able to get themselves on that even level playing field where they're going blow for blow. It's just all Wildcard being able to deal with just about everything. And now we head to CEO Executive, and again, it's just no repeats here for Invictus. They're not looking to try and defend Locker's CCTV again. They go upstairs, and statistically, CEO Executive is one of the better sites for attackers. It boggles the mind a little bit, but we'll see if it works. I think it was the Chiefs Direwolves game where something similar happened, and it actually ended up working. So sometimes, maybe you can just sort of back your instincts in a little bit. But for Invictus, as a team, when you look at that roster, you think almost attacker side, that's where they're going to get a lot of the job done. So how many defensive rounds do they realistically need? Maybe only 2. And then you kind of back in the firepower that they've got on that roster to get the job done in the second half.
Well, again, I don't want to sound too much like a broken record, but as I said before, Invictus is being tested now. This is the first time they've been tested this stage, admittedly only in the second Playday, but they didn't have this sort of resistance from Fury. So now this is the round in particular to prevent the 3 straight, where Invictus need to step up and find a win. If they don't, against any team in any situation, it's always tough if you don't win any of the first 3 as a defender, because you're like, whoa, well, where the hell are we going to go next? We don't really have a secure site yet. So I'm looking at Invictus to step up here, try and get that round in response. They haven't been playing particularly badly in the first couple of rounds, but Wildcard are clearly edging them out.
Would have liked to see maybe the Jackal repick here from Wildcard. We saw it on Playday 1, worked wonders for the Chiefs, bouncing balls. He switched over to it, and they were able to really clear out that hallway on CEO Executive. Vincia gets the ping, gets a bit of damage onto Jigsaw as well. Not quite half health, but at least enough. He gets a nice tag. Jigsaw pops back up, confirms that location. Still, what a C4 though. It was nade in hand for Vincier, but the C4 for Jigsaw hits the mark. Cairo, though, does get rid of Mentalist elsewhere on the map. So that's at least 1 for 1. Minute 42 remaining, but my God, Cairo 5-0-1 to start in this match.
Hard to believe that he is one of the new additions to this roster alongside OJ, but looking comfortable. Mile as well. One of the veterans now of this squad, also playing well thus far. Jigsaw still alive inside of open areas. OJ's unable to finish him off. Jigsaw once more pops his head back up, but OJ progresses forward and finishes him off with the AK-12. This is what we saw in the last Playday from WILDCARD. Really good ability to hunt down roamers and trade out picks. Admittedly, a little bit slow and a little bit delayed on Jigsaw in particular, but it didn't matter. And now they have 60 seconds to mount a 4v2 attack.
You think about the OG wildcard back in 2020, it was all about that slow, methodical play style, leaving it to the final 20 seconds, but also working their way through a round slowly but surely. And that's really what they've been able to do, just kind of slowly pick apart Invictus. They're not, oh, this is a nice angle there for Speakeasy, but he just can't get the down onto Pat. That really was something that was, at this point, necessary for Invictus to maybe get back into the round. Pat's in. Low on health, though, but Diffuser at least in from the rappel, 30 seconds remaining. But WILDCARD have got a lot of the job done. Now it's about executing down the stretch, guys.
Historics is in a powerful position. Lights up one, gets the down onto Cairo. So the most dangerous player, admittedly, for WILDCARD at the moment has been taken off the board. Now 10 seconds left, and Speakeasy is also in tow. He'll be able to swing and deny the plant. WILDCARD with no response as the timer continues to tick down. 5 as they need to recover the kit, but Speakeasy's been allowed to swing for another. And unfortunately, now it's Milo left all alone. WILDCARD fall apart, and Invictus finally get a round on the board.
Well, you say WILDCARD fell apart. I just feel like Speakeasy was able to maneuver his way around the site and just pick off WILDCARD, kind of do to them what WILDCARD was doing to Invictus. And that was just what you expect from arguably the best player in the region in Speakeasy. Cool, calm, measured. Because WILDCARD were winning that round pretty convincingly, guys. I mean, we were probably both sitting there at 4-2 thinking, well, I mean, this is going to be 3-0. They're methodical. They're picking them apart. This is clean and precise siege. And just at that last second, Speakeasy says, no, we're still here. We're still fighting. 2-1. And most importantly, you get that one. Now you can go get that second defensive round for Invictus. Then you kind of back yourselves in the second half to go and get 4 attacking rounds, which they're certainly capable of as we head back to open area staff. For the second time in this game here in the 4th round. WILDCARD with a 2-1 start, but Invictus and through Speakeasy will be no slouches here.
That's exactly what they needed to kickstart a little bit of momentum here for their second match of the stage. I'm sure they would have been quite pleased with the previous result, but again, Fury unfortunately not looking all that amazing at the moment. So IG will see this as a bit more of a challenging opponent, but also a great opportunity to really consolidate their position at the pointy end of the standings early on in the stage. And we know, looking through the historical data, APAC South so close. So being able to take down a rival like WILDCARD would be huge. And they don't roll over in that 3rd round. An awesome little fight back in the 2v4. Admittedly, not the cleanest post-plant, or pardon me, cleanest plant position execution there from WILDCARD, but props to IG, they were able to run around and find those picks as necessary.
I think the biggest thing with this WILDCARD roster, and I know it's only the second game that we've seen from them, but they just seem like they're thinking their way through the games a bit better than they did last year with the old roster, where at times it was just a mistake after mistake, or maybe things just quite weren't going their way, or they didn't even look like they were on the same sort of communication line. It just seems like they're playing more like a team with a game plan in mind as well so far. And that's not just this game, but the way that they played and arguably bullied the Knights on Playday 1. This is 2 teams that right now, I mean, I know it's only Playday 2, are battling for some very significant points against another, I don't want to say contender, but top 4 aspirant. And whoever can win this game, so big for the rest of the season. The follow-on effect is massive.
Would have to agree. Cairo up above with the skeleton key, looking to isolate players on the northern side of Bank over towards towers and prevent anyone from making moves. Also opening up a route for the likes of Vinny to make their way through lobby and start to pinch the side itself. Vinny knows there's a player close, and Cairo will get that call to help clear it out. But Vinny, as I say that, will find the kill himself. This really opens up the round for WILDCARD, and now they have 60 seconds to apply some serious pressure on the actual objective.
I'm just wondering if Mentalist actually peaked that, because I don't think Vincia actually had that great of an angle, and he certainly didn't look like he was in a position where he was looking to swing straight away. 50 seconds left. Again, WILDCARD with a bit of an advantage to close out the game, to close out the round, I should say. Main stairs, though, still controlled by IG, as Pat looking to open up square. 35 seconds, still a lot of time. This is almost like old school WILDCARD here, waiting for the final moments of the round as Molosca goes and does battle with Jigsaw, who came off second best in the end. Hysterics, though, cleans up Molosca. 4 versus 4. Beepers control and stairs control still established for Invictus here. WILDCARD may all just funnel in, but why not just lead the way? Vincia gets the double. He's got 3 in the round now. Overall, WILDCARD again in a 4 versus 2 scenario. But Jigsaw's still alive. So is Nate. Nate falls to OJ. Apparently, it's a quad kill. Even though Vinny got, I guess 3 kills? I don't understand what's happened there, but Jigsaw, unfortunately, not going to be able to stop this one.
Oh, it's an ace for Vinny. He gets all 5.
What's going on?
Yeah, not quite sure what's going on there. But
9 kills in the round. 4 to OJ and 5 to Vinny.
What we can say with certainty, though, is WILDCARD do take the round. It did get a little bit scary at the end there. Vinny made a great run in, found a couple of kills, but then the diffuser was dropped just as they tried to transition it from bot square inside of open area. They were able to recover it, though. Jigsaw, throughout the entire last phase of the round, you can see on screen, so low on HP, so he couldn't really make much of couldn't really make much of a move. And unfortunately, it's kind of a bit of the same there for Invictus on that particular objective.
Oh, some long faces, Guz, for Invictus, as they call a tactical timeout. It does kind of give you the sense that maybe things not quite going the way they thought it would. It is only the first half. You don't want to get too ahead of yourselves, but WILDCARD looking pretty good on the attack for Bank, especially when back on Playday 1 was slightly more defender-sided. But in any way, I would say that's Playday 1, and that in itself, you can't really look too much into it. Historically, Bank a little bit more attacker-sided. So if you were to take that into account for IG here, I think taking the early attacks fine, because if you now got 2 rounds essentially to find 1 more round, that's the way I would look at it. A 4-2 half in favor of WILDCARD here is not that bad for Invictus. They can then go on the attack and replicate what WILDCARD has done here. So by no means should they be maybe looking as down as they are. In fact, we head down though to locker CCTV.
I feel like it's always hard during those tactical timeouts to know if a team, especially when they're losing, are they actually, is tilting a little bit, or are they just really focused? Sometimes it can be really hard to tell the difference. Maybe Invictus, they're completely fine, and they were just super focused locked in, needed that opportunity for a bit of a breath. Who knows? I guess we'll see that play out over the next couple of rounds. We do head back down to basement once again. OJ with the repick onto the Ying. I was going to say disappointed not to see it initially picked, but alas, OJ was selected in the end of the day, and really keen to see if that has an impact. It felt like it had a limited impact in the last round. Could well be a more impactful operator here for round 5.
I mean, definitely right now, Cairo has been such a standout for those unaware. Previously from Avert, local Oceanic team, who was in the 2nd division domestically. And then, of course, his team was able to get into the top division domestically at the end of last year, played 1 stage, got relegated, unfortunately, and now he finds himself in APAC South. How does that work?
Not a bad little leapfrog.
And I've just completely put the mods on him there, unfortunately. Jigsaw, though, does find the elimination. He'll like that one, and so will Invictus, especially on locker CCTV. That makes the attack so much harder. Molosca, though, hunts down Hysterics, finds that kill, brings it back to 4 versus 4. And I think in some ways that's been a bit of the difference maker so far, Cuts, is whenever IG find a frag, it's traded back. But when WILDCARD get one, you don't see anything back from IG.
It's just that super decisive confidence, particularly from Milo. He's having someone always drone him in. He knew exactly where that player was, and he was already pre-firing before Hysterics even knew what day it was. Really awesome to see there from Wildcard. And now they isolate the 4v4. So they have a minute 30 to work with. That's not too much time for this objective, especially if you want to be baiting out some of those smoke canisters and forcing yokais to move early. But they did make it work last time with a similar amount of time available. So it's not the worst situation that Wildcard could find themselves in, but as they open up bot square and look to make their way in towards server, now they need to start making their moves a little bit quicker, because if you do leave it too late, you will be forced to go deep, and that's when you sort of throw your chances of winning the round up in the air a little bit, and it's more out of your control.
That's server control established, or server room established, I should say. All 4 of them, though. That is a little bit concerning, because there's just not much elsewhere that you're going to get, say, a frag on a player through garage or even main stairs sort of gameplay, and it just makes it a little bit easier for Invictus if Wildcard all just funnel through.
We did see OJ rotate, right?
Yes.
So he's going to go on the hatch of A. He'll try and throw Candelas into red and maybe as deep as Mentalist here in lockers. His goal will be to disrupt this plant denial, but Speak Easy with the Warden. The perfect counter is able to drop one. Vinny as well falls off the board. Speak Easy hungry for more, finds another through the wall, and now OJ up above in the 1v4, able to trade out a pick, but he only has 15 seconds and a dream. He makes his way through all the way to lockers, but he can't find that one, and Mentalist will shut him down.
That's a massive round for Invictus. They get their second in the opening half. And yeah, well, I think you were right, cuz. They are just locked in right now. Tactical timeout, successful. That's what you like to see when teams call them early and back it up with a result. Highlights why you don't really want to hold that tactical timeout for too long. 3-2 scoreline. Wildcard now with a little bit of pressure going into CEO Executive to close out the first half. Otherwise, we could have our 3rd bank in a row, this split, where it's a 3-3 first half.
Yeah, really well played there in that previous round by IG to bring the Warden. And it does make you question, did Wildcard see the Warden in the prep phase? You would have to say no. They did repick onto the Ying. And if you see Warden, repicking onto Ying is typically a bad idea, because Warden is your well and true hardest niche counter. You don't want to be playing against him. And that said, it's not like the Warden had an absolute huge impact there in the previous round. I couldn't quite tell if the initial frag was through a smoke. Either way, though, it was always going to be a challenge for the attack to overcome. So a bit of a misplay there from Wildcard, but Speak Easy, of course, really stepping up, playing his role on the team well, like he always does, really. Super consistent performer, super consistent good performer as well at that for IG. And yeah, once again, a 5-3 start to kick things off.
And just quietly as well, as we go to CEO Executive, no castle being brought to the board. I do wonder if maybe a reason for that is generally just a bit more of a lack of the repel game from attackers in recent times for this particular site. More focus generally towards, like, say, a terrace push in towards top square and trying to clear out the players in the hallway. Say that, but you know, Pat, of course, now on the repel. I mean, I don't think they're going. I don't think they're going to sit here forever, though. Open up a few windows, be a bit of a pest, and then see what they can maybe do. But still, going back to that, it's generally about trying to clear out those players in the hallway, because generally for CEO Executive, the defenders are not really going to sit many on site. Maybe only one. Everyone else will play off site, elevator, hallway, down below as well. Talos Archives is going to be another sort of area too.
Vinny on the lobby repel, and this is a position that he was very, very strong on last year, despite Wildcard's woes, both in APAC and the Oceanic Nationals. Vinny was able to find a lot of kills from this position. Right on cue, he gets Mentalist.
Got him.
Eventually. Took his time, but able to clean that one up, and he'll go straight back on the roof, meet up with the rest of the team square, and look to do more damage. Milo, in the meantime, gets another jigsaw taken low. OJ unable, though, to secure that one. It's a good start, however, for Wildcard.
Just so many angles. And such is this site as well. When you're playing off of it, you're also still exposed to many different angles too. Minute and a half remaining, and this is why CEO Executive does generally go the way for the attackers. It's a perfect start, but you have to wonder, is Mentalist supposed to really be walking out there? Though this time, it's Speak Easy who catches Pat. He continues to just go down with the diffuser, the repel. Maloska just wins out there against Speak Easy. That was a close one. That now allows OJ to get in, get this diffuser down. If he does, that's probably the round. Although Maloska does fall to Hysterics, who's outside.
He'll have to make his way back through lobby, link up with Jigsaw at long desk and see if they can perform a miracle. Stokes rechecks the rappel and sees that it's clear, but now he's getting lit up from towers. Elsewhere, Jigsaw does find OJ. Things getting a little bit interesting as Jigsaw needs to try and find another. He's waiting patiently for Hysterics. He's finally made his way across, but the rappel now back in play. There's at least one defender, or attacker rather, I think, out there, if not below, watching on Vert. Vinny, he drops Hysterics, but traded. Cairo now, he is in fact below. 7 seconds on the clock. He needs to find the kill. Jigsaw sticking the kit. Cairo sees him, finishes him off, and Wildcard clean out the half in a decent fashion.
Nervous moments there for Wildcard to close out the half, but they do just that. A little sloppy towards the end, but hey, a win is a win, Gus. You cannot complain there at all. 4-2 half for Wildcard to open things up here on Bank. They'll be happy with that. I think for IG, they shouldn't be too displeased either with getting 2 rounds defensively. Now we switch. Now we go to the second half where the firepower of Invictus could very well be put on full display here on the attacking side of Bank.
I would tend to agree. I think at the moment we're pretty even. Yes, it's 4-2, but IG, I think, are going to be strong on the attack. They have those strong entries, right? You look at, I mean, probably the entire team, really, but especially you look at the big 3, Speakeasy, Hysterics, Jigsaw. You can send any of them in and they're going to be fragging out. It does seem like Speakeasy, based on the interview yesterday, has transitioned a little bit more away and distanced himself from that opening role, instead handing over the reins to Jigsaw. So he's going to be the one that we're going to be looking at here in these attacks. Can he get droned in effectively? Can the Zero aid him in finding information? And can he hit those shots? Wildcard yesterday against the Knights did a pretty good job in denying critical map control. I'm excited to see that battle on this particular map in this matchup. Milo, on the side of the defense, he was the one doing so much work, and he's probably going to have that task once more.
Do you want your thoughts, though, Cairo, on the castle here for Locker's CCTV and generally for Wildcard very much not going for that sort of denial approach? Yeah, you got the smoke, but that's stock standard as well. But I didn't actually quite catch where you put those barricades.
Well, there's at least one going into kitchen, and I'm assuming others are placed on that first, maybe even second floor. So quite an aggro roam here from Wildcard. A great sign of confidence. Again, getting in the face of IG, preventing Jigsaw from taking free control and preventing Mentalist from getting up above quickly and opening up lines of sight. I like this from Wildcard. Whether or not it works, I'll let you know in 3 minutes' time. But it's awesome to see, especially on a site where some teams, if they aren't feeling themselves as much as this, will just sit inside and wait it out.
Yep.
Wildcard definitely not taking that approach.
Well, there's different ways you can really play Locker's CCTV, the smoke, the Chanka denial, where you basically just sit all 5 down below, try and block off that server room push.
Wait, has OJ been droned? Jigsaw's body language suggests... Oh, no. OJ has not been droned.
Definitely not been droned.
This is devastating.
I don't think, though, that he saw Jigsaw either make it to main stairs.
But he could just sit here for the entire round.
Well, you can sit here for the entire round and then go for that flank late round as well. And you can also just sort of really catch these players up above second floor and then eventually first floor who are looking to create those vertical angles. Although I don't think he was expecting Jigsaw right there. Jigsaw was definitely not expecting OJ there either, though. Opening pick for Wildcard, and he has his escape route as well. What an intriguing strategy that has come out here by Wildcard, really taking that open area staff room for their own sake with the castle barricades and using it as an escape for OJ.
Great little jewel to open things up. Hysterics ignores open area, makes his way towards main, hungry for a trade in response, but elects not to get too risky with it. 60 seconds now, and Invictus need to think about how they're going to get control of staff, and it looks like Mentalist has headed that. Wildcard repathing towards the objective.
It's not much time for this, though. This is the problem. It's minigame upon minigame at the moment for Invictus, and they still haven't got to the main objective. That's the problem. Pat with a headshot, up close shotgun elimination onto Mentalist over at blue stairs. They have not even looked at the objective here. Wildcard have played this perfectly. And it's going to be a rush onto site for Invictus at that, if they can get there. And Wildcard should very well be prepared for it. 25 seconds left, but you never count out IG, especially with Speakeasy and Hysterics, both still alive.
I did say round over, maybe a bit preemptive. Wildcard are quite deep at the moment, and the plant might be lacking. But Milo, he's inside of server. I didn't quite see that outline. He swings, but immediately shut down. Now 10 seconds left for the push.
There is time, enough time to at least get in, get that plant down. Speak Easy's got two very much quickly, but they don't have to. Well, they do have it down. Speak Easy's the one that needs to put it down, though. Nate needs to cover, and he does just that. Nate, the bodyguard.
The denial!
But Vincia somehow salvages it. Snatches victory from the jaws of defeat because they looked like they were about to lose the round to an IG comeback.
Oh, can we get a replay? How close was that plant? It must have been really, really tight. Oh my God, what a round. Milo getting dropped easily inside of server, 3v3, 10 seconds. That was the longest 10 seconds ever.
Oh.
Invictus being able to do so much work. Cairo, how he didn't win that is beyond me. A sharp flick from Nate, but then
There was
being
about a
able
second left.
to
There was
deny. About a second. Wow.
We've seen closer, but still, it's the fact that I thought Wildcard played that is you almost could play it. Almost as good as you could play it, guys. But then Speak Easy, he's just on another level.
Well, I will say, talk about playing. You played that off pretty well. You got excited thinking IG won that round, and then it worked because Wildcard won it.
No.
Anyway.
I legitimately didn't think they won the round. I thought they almost were going to be winning the round.
Yeah, it was super close, really chaotic, but Wildcard thriving. And the reason they won that round wasn't just because of that clutch play at the end. It was the lead up to that, the roam.
Yeah.
It worked so well. OJ being able to sneak inside of Stuck and allow that drone to pass was awesome. He almost chalked it. Jigsaw nearly flicked him, but he did win that engagement, was able to then rotate off. And yes, although Wildcard dropped numbers later on to the round, they had soaked up a lot of time and put a lot of pressure onto Invictus. And now they have a 5-2 scoreline. Keep in mind as well, Invictus have already used that tactical, and I think that's going to be really key.
I think in some ways, to be completely honest, the scoreline maybe doesn't quite highlight how close this has kind of been between these two teams. Yes, I think Wildcard's been the better of the two, but that's not to say 3 rounds to the good. Well, I guess that's what the scoreboard says, though. And Invictus now need to really pull up their pants here and get to work, because otherwise match point could be on the other side if they can't find victory in this 8th round. It just seems like everyone on the side of Wildcard oozing confidence, except maybe Pat, who's just had a bit of an unfortunate one so far.
No, he's just been hands off the steering wheel, let the rest of the team do the work. I'm chilling. He's supporting the rest of the team. No issues for him. As we know, we're on round 8. Cairo in a powerful position up above.
Man.
He was being supported by Pat. Shut down. Now Cairo needs to try and respond, but instead elects to go back towards the main stairs, find refuge back down below, and that's probably the percentage play. Trying to hold it out up above would probably not work out, and he's cut off nonetheless. 3-5 in favor of Invictus.
And quickly here, but this feels like probably the first round where IG have been able to get some opening picks that haven't then been traded back elsewhere. So they've got this 2-player advantage. As Milo, as I've said, just about said it gets at least 1 back. But still, the point nonetheless here is, at least for Invictus, they've been able to just slowly pick apart Wildcard's defense here and get themselves into a much more winnable position without having to sort of be behind and try and clutch up big late. They've still got a player up. Still a minute left, so plenty of time here as they continue to try and survey around the site.
Bomb located by attackers.
Invictus will use this pocket of time to drone ahead. Key thing to remember as well is blue, a common flank route for the defense. Nate droning that out and presumably giving a call that Vincia is at the bottom of that incline. That effectively leaves 2 defenders in on site. Invictus should be able to trade this out.
Still time, don't have to rush it. They get the down onto OJ. So there's no yokai drone, at least, that's going to be a hindrance for that plant to go down through Nate. Actually does find the elimination onto OJ. Veloska in a good angle over towards Admin. Swings, he's got 2 in the round, but he falls immediately to Nate. Invictus should very well be taking this round now to make it 5-3. They're not going to go down too easy, especially with Speak Easy on the team. Nate gets the plant down. Not much Vinny's going to be able to do here besides maybe try and save his KD a little bit. That was a little face palm from you guys. I can see you there. Big round though for Invictus. Needed that 5-3 scoreline.
Still a lot of pressure though on Invictus. Keep in mind, Wildcard is single round away from at least securing overtime, and in the current scoring format, that would be at least 1 point towards the standings and prevent Invictus from getting the full 3. So, although that's alleviated some pressure, it is still looming. We head back over towards the second floor now for Executive CEO. Wildcard electing not to bring the castle, much like their counterparts, and we'll have to see how this plays out.
So far, IG have not been able to win 2 rounds in a row in this game, heading into the 9th round. They will probably need to do that here to really keep this alive. Otherwise, Wildcard secure 1 point and OT at minimum. It's the other sort of talking point here is that while match point is when you've got 6 rounds, in some ways, you've got that mini match point, or at least that OT point once you've got to 5. So for Wildcard's sake, they can at least secure 1 point if they can win 1 more round. But for Invictus, it means they literally need to win the next 4 in a row if they are to secure all 3 points. So it's a long, long way back for them where they're at currently and where they were at 5-2. So again, big rounds here for Invictus.
Attackers are moving out to locate a bomb and defuse it.
Trying to get a bit of a feel as to what this play is here for Wildcard. I think, excuse the pun, their wildcard is probably the Echo. Now, we do see a bit of Echo play down below, and it's probably one of the few objectives in the game in which we do. But on this occasion, we'll see it up above from OJ. Now, I don't know exactly where he's going to play, what his safe haven will be. I would assume somewhere near front desk if Invictus don't commit to a lobby push. And that will allow him to use those Yokai drones late in the round to deny the plan, or at the very least, hopefully give the rest of the defense some information as to where the plant's going down or when it's going down, keeping in mind that there are a couple of permutations on this site as to where you can plant. You can go behind the cupboard like Wildcard tried and failed. You can go behind the desk, which is a little bit more typical. You could even try and send it deep and plant on the wall. So having that information as a defender from OJ will be really critical.
This is actually pretty simple there for Speakeasy to just open up an executive wall from Terrace for free with the Salmas. You can go back. Minute 50. A lot of time, by the way. I mean, a lot of time here for Invictus. But Wildcard not really giving them anything. We think back to that first half. I think it was the 6th round where Invictus were kind of moving too much around off-site, and it just opened up sight lines for Wildcard to really find some eliminations. And Wildcard doing the complete opposite. They're keeping still, really trying to keep everything enclosed, not running around, not in positions where you could be in 2 different sight lines, holding their spots. And Vincier in this hallway position, so important with this shield still. I believe he has an ADS there as well for good measure. But this is now where Wildcard's done a decent job to kind of contain and hide themselves. It's now up to Invictus to really push and force something.
I love this little mini game over towards Stock, and the first nade doesn't land from Jigsaw. None left, in fact. Mental's taken low elsewhere, a trade with OJ, and both will need to be very careful for the remainder of the round. But Vinny's in such a good spot. This has raised in popularity since the rework of this map, and it seems like Vinny has it locked down. Still a shield in place. I believe there's a mute jammer as well. You can see magnets above, as well as a proxy. So he's in prime position to prevent any players from pushing from top square in towards the objective. Keep in mind, Pat taken down, but there might be a chance
Jigsaw.
for a res. Jigsaw, however, says no. Way too sharp.
Massive. One more Adrenal Surge available for Hysterics as well. Nate's in. He's going to look to get this diffuser down. OJ as well lives up to that. He falls. Same with Pat already earlier in Janitor. So it's now Invictus that has been able to find these eliminations. Vinny thinking he has to force something here, and he's not wrong. He needs to force something. He shoots Jigsaw in the backside. Vinny finds a second in quick succession by eliminating Nate as well. Now over towards CEO, looking to really salvage this for Wildcard in a 3 versus 3. Nate gets one, then Speakeasy gets rid of Vincier. No special comeback from Wildcard. Invictus are the ones making the comeback right now.
Crumbling away there for Wildcard, Pat down for free, and then unfortunately any attempts to recuperate from that loss immediately shut down by Invictus. A strong round from them, able to secure the plant, and then in that post, one of the more difficult sites to retake for the defense. Starts to tighten things up a little bit now. Wildcard in the past have even said themselves that they could be in good positions and then fail to close out games. And they would hate for a match like this against Invictus to fall to that same curse.
Yeah, and a good time for that tactical timeout. First time that IG have picked up 2 rounds in a row, so there's the signs of momentum maybe building. So it's perfectly timed, perfectly placed. And again, like IG earlier in the first half, they just look locked in and they look really, really up for this. Both teams, I think, really, this match has lived up to the billing for WILDCARD and INVICTUS. And it kind of gives me the same frame of mind that I had earlier on tonight when we were looking at Knights versus The Last Dance, that both teams look good and this match has been good. And then at that moment, it was Knights that, of course, won the last 3 rounds and pulled away 174. Could that potentially happen here with WILDCARD? You take that tactical timeout, you get Locker's CCTV, you go here 6-4, and then you could even see a 7-4 shortly after that. So this is a big moment for both teams here because you're going down to basement. Again, it's a really, really good site for the defenders. Generally can play really well into it. But for INVICTUS, you do not want to allow WILDCARD to get to that 6th point and take away your ability to get all 3.
Most of the time, basement is pretty straightforward, and some may even say boring objective, as it typically boils down to teams fighting it out for supremacy in server, trying to get that default plant secured. But last time WILDCARD attempted this site, they brought the castle much like now, and a lot of the battle for them was won off-site. In fact, it was OJ hidden in stock that allowed WILDCARD to open up that round by taking down the ever-scary Jigsaw on the entry. Now, I don't think they'll be able to rely on a misstrain on this particular round, but they can try and lean again into this roam, deny time from INVICTUS, take the fight against their entries, and if they win it out once again, you'd probably have to lean in towards them gaining match point.
This is the problem with strategies, though. Once you do it once, the other team kind of knows what you've done, how you've done it, and how to best avoid it or better it. So now at this point, you see the castle barricades over towards open area staff, and you think, okay, we know what they did last time. We know they're going to probably have a player lingering up above, maybe even 2 lingering up above. Be careful for that. That in itself, though, it means it's still going to take time for INVICTUS to clear out these players. And that's basically the idea here for WILDCARD in and itself, rather than using the denial through, say, you know, the Tachanka and the smoke. They're using denial through just players that are roaming around. Jigsaw, of course, look how careful he is here on a Locker's CCTV site here on Bank. Generally, players by this point are just running around opening everything up.
Really just wanted to make sure that his teammates do their due diligence with the drones this time. He's not taking any chances, and rightly so, he was punished last time for his teammates' shortcomings. But as you can see, no blue outlines up above as WILDCARD have transitioned down below. They weren't too keen to hold up above, and I mean, that makes perfect sense. They can rotate back down below, and naturally it's going to still waste time. They also have a bit of a buffer over towards open area and might be able to find something, or at least waste more time. OJ down, but he did fall through the hatch. So
that was just a straight headshot to the dome or something, because he just dropped instantly. Does get brought back up, but low on health from here on out for the rest of this round. First adrenal surge used by Hysterics as they finally get open area control, but there's only a minute left. And as we remember to the last time we saw this site, it was basically a last second rush onto site. And while it was almost successful, you really do not want to be leaving it too little too late. Pat obviously holding blue stairs, still has an ADS. Precarious position, but last time that's where he found a big important frag by getting rid of Mentalist. Could it happen again?
I'm looking at Milo to step up as well here. He was shut down last time, but needs to support Pat in a perfect position to really hold back this attack.
Did it again!
Downs the first, might be able to find a second. The swing wasn't immediate, doesn't land that shot, doesn't land the second. Now 30 seconds available for INVICTUS to push forward and take down Milo towards the site.
It's deja vu for Mentalist, unfortunately. Could it be deja vu for WILDCARD? Because Speakeasy's pushing in and finding frags, but it didn't quite get the job done last time. It does this time with a bit of help from Jigsaw to solve this little Locker CCTV puzzle that WILDCARD has set up for IG, and they absolutely solve it this time around.
That was WILDCARD's round to lose. They had the clock going for them, but they didn't win a single one of those late round engagements. INVICTUS clearly too sharp. WILDCARD had a little bit of an ants in the pants kind of moment. They're eager to find picks and really secure the round, but in doing so, they let it slip through their fingers. We're now at 5-5. Despite burning their tactical earlier, INVICTUS have done a great job in mounting this comeback. I must say, I was surprised that WILDCARD, they used their tack before, right? I'm surprised they used it when they did. I probably would have left it for this sort of penultimate match point moment.
No, I think, well, you know how I am generally with the tactical timeouts. I think at the point that IG won 2 in a row for the first time. That's a perfect time to want to try and halt that, to try and stop that. You go into locker CCTV. I don't think you can question it. They really needed to be winning that round, and they didn't. And IG have absolutely punished them. And now there is a real possibility for Invictus to get all 3 points from this game, despite being down 5-2 at one point, which is staggering. And then you have to really think about the mental side of things for Wildcard and this new Wildcard roster. But I did say, back in that first half, it was going to be IG's attack that I think would get them back into it. And lo and behold, that's the way it has turned out to be.
Oh, Mentalist tries to get cheeky over towards the back alley spawn, but OJ with a really nice deployable shield set up facing that position sheds a lot of damage. So Mentalist now needs to be careful. That also makes him very prone to nitros from below if he is to play vert. Fortunately for him, Pat's the only one with one in hand though.
And suddenly there's pressure on Wildcard now, where before there probably wasn't much pressure coming into this second half. After getting the opening round all of the second half and going up 5-2, you thought, well, they didn't have it in the bag. They probably had a clean run at OT at minimum, and now that's changed dramatically. Pat has been struggling in janitor, has been picked off every single time. The only time he has actually found any semblance of success has been Blue Stairs on a locker CCTV site. And Jigsaw has been so aggressive as always. 9 and 8, but really to get that 9, you do need to be putting yourself in those aggressive positions, and he's been doing just that. The firepower of Invictus on full display in the second half so far.
First nade burnt, but Pat survives. Looking to hold down this janitor position for as long as possible. If he finds Jigsaw, that's a bonus at this range. You'd have to back him in. But, oh, the timing. It's absolutely awful. Jigsaw to capitalize, but Milo to trade. Cairo as well gets one, and Vinny still has a stronghold at the top of main stairs.
And that's the response we haven't seen from Wildcard over the last 3 rounds, where Invictus is finding these frags, finding these eliminations, but Wildcard just were not answering. Now they finally do that here in the 11th. Jigsaw, though, answers back himself. Now it's a 3 versus 3 with just under a minute remaining, but still main stairs control under the side of Wildcard as Speak Easy makes his foray into the round. That is a quick little double tap. And maybe it could be a quick sign that Wildcard might just be out of this one, because match point is now looming. But for Invictus, what a turnaround that we have seen in the second half.
How do you come back? That was a perfect crossfire, dismantled by the man himself. Now OJ, all alone. It's like an episode of Home Alone as he tries to lock down staff room, sees one but misses, needs to try and spray them down as they enter the doorway, gets one, almost got the second, but who else but Jigsaw to close it out for Invictus now with match point.
I don't know if you can say that with Speakeasy on the team, Guz, but I do get where you're going with that one. IG have well and truly turned things around. And yeah, you mentioned it at the start of that last round. The tactical timeout has been burned. It has been used. And I think Wildcard would love to have a second right now. That was so just massive from Speakeasy. That quick little double just shuts the round down instantly. Well, it's match point for the final round of regulation. At least 1 point secured for Invictus. Now they can go for all 3. The downside for Wildcard is from a 5-2 lead, they can now no longer walk away with 3 points.
We are yet to see a game in APAC South go to overtime. Wildcard will be crossing their fingers and their toes that this will be the first. Otherwise, it will be a disappointing result for them. They started strong, but they just couldn't hold that momentum. The star players from Invictus, namely Speakeasy and the new addition of Jigsaw, have been so potent, so deadly, so difficult to shut down. And when at least one of them has been alive so far, the threat factor has just been through the roof. And Wildcard, try as they might, have been really, really struggling in taming them.
And I'm prepared to to jinx myself here and put the curse on myself, because if we think back to the talent predictions at the start of tonight, guys, it was only myself that predicted IG. That's
here we go.
but that's where Wildcard is at right now as a team, and the expectations on them as a team to do well. They were up 5-2, and I was sitting back thinking, geez, I've really maybe even underestimated them a little bit. But IG in some way have maybe also been a little bit forgotten about as to what they can really bring to the table, and they've shown that on full display in the second half. It's been tremendous to watch Jigsaw and both himself and Speakeasy just go to town and basically tear Wildcard apart.
I did think it was a little bit of a 50-50 heading into the night. A very tough prediction. Jigsaw, again, big kill. Vinny, the top fragger from Wildcard, dealt with immediately. It's a very strong start for Invictus. A 5-4-man advantage. No trade as of yet, as Curry now looks to replace this position over towards Stock. Cleaner util clear from IG on this occasion. Need to be careful of a defender down below.
Drop the bomb diffuser.
That's Milo. Like a ping pong ball bouncing around, seeing if he can find something. This was reminiscent of the last Playday against the Knights, but unfortunately it hasn't really paid dividends here against IG.
Minute 20 remaining. Invictus probably feel like they've got one hand on 3 points here. It's all about making sure they don't make mistakes. Do not allow Wildcard to get a freebie. If you find this next pick, 5 versus 3 with under a minute, surely will be very winnable for Invictus. Nate just keeping an eye through this big cross and yet catches OJ. Loses to the headshot though. OJ is lit.
It's the diffuser as well. It's a big kill in the context of this round, in the context of the match. Pat's been quiet. He's been struggling to win these ones. This is critical. He must win this with the shotgun. The timing again, it's awful, but Milo assists. 40 seconds on the board.
Still 2 more adrenal surges available from Hysterics with 30 seconds remaining. It's almost going to be the old duo of Hysterics and Speakeasy to get Invictus across the line, and it may just be, after all, it's the older heads, the OGs for IG. They get the job done against Wildcard, and they are off to an amazing start here for APAC South.
Back to back, it doesn't get any better than that. IG absolutely popping off there in the second half. It looked doom and gloom. We saw their faces in the tack. I thought they were at a funeral. No, they rise from the dead, and IG get the win in regulation nonetheless as well. So a full 3 points. That's big.
It might be all about the new players, 3 new players, but it's the 2 ones that were there from before that get it done in the end for Invictus to get all 3 points. From 5-2 down to walking away with all 3 points and basically at the top of the standings after 2 Playdays. What a tremendous result for Invictus, and what a roster that they've put together.
Wow, I can't believe what just happened. It's just crazy.
You look
IG played so,
right now.
they really played. I genuinely thought that was that. I mean, it still was the best wildcard we've seen in a long time, and it looked like they were going to be really hard to beat. And in that first half, they were. But IG, their attacks at the moment are just so damn good. And Wildcard, they really couldn't mount a consistent response against such strong mechanical, getting aided by the likes of Mentalist in that support role. Just a really good showing from Invictus. And at the moment, you really have to be seriously considering penciling them in as the best team in the league.
It's hard to go past that, isn't it? I know it's only 2 Playdays. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves. You know, when the teams lose, you kind of sit back and say, well, it's only Playday 1, it's only Playday 2. When the teams win, you're almost like, yes, that's it, they're champions, they're going to SI. But I think that what this also highlights for IG, it's one thing to win and win easy against, say, a Fury on Playday 1. It's another thing to come back from a 5-2 deficit against a very good wildcard team. So congratulations to Invictus. They get all 3 points, and we'll head back over to the best desk in the business.
Oof. I kind of feel a little bit bad for saying what I did now to intro them, but look, let's be completely honest here. I may or may not have jinxed poor Wildcard there. They were looking so good, 5-2 up. It looked dominant, Dev. How on earth have they not closed it out? IG just show another level.